Good morning, Pastor Ron Jetter, Immanuel Lutheran Church, Grandview, Washington, Friday, Casual Friday, the 18th of September, 2020. And today I happen to have on my number 12 Seahawks 12th man jersey because it's a good thing to wear. It's very comfortable on Friday. And last night, there was a game on. My brother and I use sports as a way to keep his mind active. I've mentioned before that he's got some cognitive impairment, possibly because of a bicycle accident years ago that broke his bike helmet and gave him a concussion, broke some bones, and had him kind of out of commission for about 6 months. And now, years later, taking its toll on his cognitive abilities, and so he needs something to keep active. There was a couple of months there, I may have mentioned, when we didn't do anything, April and May, and then finally baseball came along. But he has always lived for football because his father-in-law had Alzheimer's, and they would use football as the way to keep my sister-in-law's dad, Bob's, mind active. He would go in and research. He has since passed, but my brother does the same thing. So we take turns betting on a Thursday game, Monday game, and then each of us get a Sunday game. So 4 games a week. And last night I had Cleveland and I won, so now I'm only 1 game behind after 5 games in the season, because it was 3-1 last week, and now it's 3-2. So, and $5 a game. We don't care if we ever pay off or not, but it's the way that my brother is able to interact with me and with the world. And his world's very small. It really involves me and his wife and their daughter, and that's really pretty much about it. His friends long ago stopped talking to him, seeing him, visiting him for the most part. That happens with people when they're not able to then reach out to the world in the same way, and they don't drive. They have some abilities that gradually disappear, what we call activities of daily living. That number that is so large when we're 30 or 40 gradually shrinks, and the little activity bubbles kind of disappear. They go by the wayside, and then more and more people have to help us do the simplest things. And anything I can do to keep his mind active, I don't really go in and study. I think, okay, that team is playing at home and they have a better record. Great, let's go with that one. And he will study, okay, who's on injured reserve and who's playing and whose stats look good. And it's great that he's able to bring that level. His engineering mind still wants to analyze every game, which is why he generally, at the end of the season, is ahead of me by a few games, as he was last year. Brothers, right? We would do anything for our brothers, for our siblings, for our sisters. I talk to my sister. We don't have short conversations. We don't talk often, but when we do, it's an hour and a half. So every 6 months we'll have an hour and a half conversation. And it was good to talk to her. And she has talked to my brother, which is good. I'm glad to see that the two of them are talking, although it's difficult, she says, to have conversations. Because they don't share the football thing, and he doesn't really have any understanding of her life. She's raising grandkids that she has custody of, and so there's not a lot of intersection. Brothers, sisters, siblings, that's what we've been studying throughout this saga in the book of Genesis that has to do with Abraham, with Isaac, with Jacob, whose name got changed to Israel, and whose 12 sons and daughters have so many foibles of their own. We are in chapter 43 of the book of 43 of the book of Genesis, and when we left them the other day, remember, Joseph had said to his brothers, not knowing that his brothers didn't know that was Joseph they were talking to. He said, if you want to go back to your home, great, but if you ever want to come back and buy anything in Egypt during this time of famine, you told me you had a younger brother. I think you're liars. Prove it. Well, he knows that he knows who Benjamin is. It's his younger brother. But there's this secret, this deception going on. And they went back and says, Dad, we got to go back and buy more. That grain ran out. Now we got to go back. This is probably a year later. They've used up all that they were given. And they were given, not bought. Joseph wouldn't take money for it, but he said, don't even think of coming back. Your money's no good here without this younger brother that you claim you have. So now we're in verse 16. And Israel has agreed to let his sons go, because remember, Joseph kept Simeon as a surety, as a bond, as a hostage, so that they would come back. 16, when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of the house, bring the men into the house and slaughter an animal and make ready, for the men are to dine with me at noon. The man did as Joseph said and brought the men to Joseph's house. Now the men were afraid because they were brought to Joseph's house, and they said, it is because of the money replaced in our sacks the first time that we have been brought in, so that he may have the opportunity to fall on us, to make us slaves and take our donkeys. So they went up to the steward of Joseph's house and spoke with him at the entrance of the house. They said, oh my lord, we came down the first time to buy food. We came to the lodging place. We opened our sacks, and there was each one's money in the top of his sack, our money in full weight, so we have brought it back with us. Moreover, we have brought down with us additional money to buy food. We do not know who put our money in our sacks. The steward replied, rest assured, do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your fathers must have put treasure in your sacks for you. I received your money. Then he brought Simeon out to them. When the steward had brought the men into Joseph's house, given them water, and they had washed their feet, and when he had given the donkey fodder, they made the present ready for Joseph's coming at noon, for they had heard that they would dine there. The present being all this extra money that they had brought with them, and, of course, Benjamin. When Joseph came home, they brought him the present that they had carried into the house and bowed to the ground before him. He inquired about their welfare and said, is your father well, the old man of whom you spoke? Is he still alive? This is his dad, of course. They said, your servant, our father, is well. He is still alive. And they bowed their heads and did obeisance. In the musical, Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor, there's this amazing song where they take a thesaurus, and every word for bow, grovel, scrape, kneel, everything. It's just a great song of nothing but words about how these brothers are now humbling themselves before Joseph, the Pharaoh's right-hand servant. With that, Joseph heard, Then he looked up and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son. His mother's son. Remember, they're the only two who share. Rachel is the mother. With that, Joseph hurried out because he was overcome with affection for his brother, and he was about to weep. So he went into a private room and wept there. Then he washed his face, came out controlling himself, and said, serve the meal. They served him by himself, and them by themselves, and the Egyptian who ate by himself, because the Egyptians could not eat with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. Well, it's going to become an abomination to the Hebrews. That's going to be part of the laws, the 613 kosher laws that will be imposed on the Hebrews, on the Jews later on. But now it's the Egyptians who are saying, ooh, you're Canaanites or from the land of Chaldea or wherever, but you're not Egyptian. And you don't believe in our gods. It's unclean. We can't eat with you. You stay on that side of the room. We'll stay on this side of the room. We'll have different servants, even maybe different food. We don't know. When they were seated before him, the firstborn according to his birthright and the youngest according to his youth, the men looked at one another in amazement. Portions were taken to them from Joseph's table, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. So they drank and were merry with him. So Joseph is showing favoritism to Benjamin, the brother with whom he is closest, the brother who was too young to be complicit in selling him into slavery. Wow, yeah. So what's going to happen? Brothers, he still hasn't told them who he is. They still look at this Egyptian servant and don't recognize their brother. It's been, what, 20 years or something? So, or, I don't know. He's 30 or over 30 by now, probably 32 or 3. He has children of his own, Manasseh and Ephraim. And how old was he when he was sold into slavery? 13 maybe? I don't know. Probably something like that. Benjamin would have been probably 7 or 8 years old at the time. So now he's in his 20s, but he's still Joseph's younger brother. But even Benjamin doesn't recognize Joseph. At least we aren't told that he does. So again, this biblical soap opera teasing us, the story of brothers. What's going to happen with the brothers? Like Jacob and Esau, Jacob fearing and Esau looking up and seeing 400 armed men and his brother marching toward him. And Jacob going, ah, and his brother hugs him. Is that going to be like that again? We'll find out tomorrow. Maybe.